dinner. The Tuskegee Airmen and the Military Officers Association Cape Canaveral chapter contributed over $1,400 to cover all the expenses of everything, because we honor the Tuskegee Airmen and we honor the Cowin family and Arnold families. And we also care about all of you too. The catering tonight will be by Outback Steakhouse. Good food, good food. They'll be coming in a little bit later. I would like to start off by welcoming you and saying a few words of history. And you, for those that come in and fill in later, tell them that you learned a little bit about history today. 2 years ago this week, Ray Norman. Ray, stand up. Where's Ray? He's a little slow. Ray had his 84th birthday. But he also was at a function and a person nearby said, Ray, I understand you work at the Veterans Memoria Center. Indeed, he's been on the board and active here for 15 years. He's our Secretary Emeritus, and he's not the oldest guy, but he's got a lot of experience. And that person said, I think, that's the word they used, I think there's a Tuskegee Airman buried in a cemetery at a church on Merritt Island 2 years ago. Well, Ray never forgets. Well, actually he does sometimes. But 2 years ago he didn't. A year later, we began to realize we can make something special happen. So for the last 9 months, Dean Schaaf, Dean, please stand, the president of the Veterans Memorial Center, and Bill Kowalczyk, who was at the Bill, get on in here, young man. Bill Kowalczyk got together with Ray and Dean, and they said, all right, now we've got the hard part. Let's really figure out, how do you research something like this? When they were buried, well, first of all, since Bill has to go to a Marine Corps League meeting next door, Bill Kowalczyk and Ray Norman, after the research I'll tell you about in a minute, went to that church without fully understanding exactly where they would be and began gently probing. And believe it or not, they found the correct remains on the first try of Mr. Cowin and Theda Cowin, and that was a miracle. And even more of a miracle, under the VA rules, if the remains are not self-contained in a proper container, they cannot be exhumed and reburied under Florida and VA rules. They were in the original containers from 10 and 11 years before. We were thus able to, with the help of Troxel Funeral Home, Mr. Troxel, Kyle Troxel, is Kyle here tonight?
Nope, couldn't make it.
Funeral Cremations of Merritt Island, got all the legal paperwork done, and they helped us and took the remains. Leslie was right involved. Leslie is the one daughter who lives in Titusville, and the rest of the Cowin and Arnold family come from California, Chicago, Boston, all over the place. We'll talk more about them later. But Bill, the Marine in you has never died, and he said, we're going to find these things. So 18 months after Ray heard those words, the remains were confirmed, exhumed, and then we worked with the family. Do you want to go through this again? They said, well, they had a wonderful ceremony. It was just the church's position to bury everybody as equals without big markers and things. And that's what Mr. Cowin wanted and his wife wanted, and that is where her mother was also buried. So a little condo thing was going on with the Cowin family at that quiet church. But when they said, let me think about it, and so a few weeks went by, and when Ray and Bill finished it, went to the funeral home, and then we began the process. When did they want to do the ceremony? Today's date was the date they chose. What was it, Phil, about 3 months ago, 2 months ago? They chose today's date, and then when we started working with the Tuskegee Airmen, we realized these guys are sharp. What is February in American history now? Black History Month. And what are the chances that on Black History Month, this is perfect for the family, on a Thursday, so that we could have beautiful weather, that's another good thing, that they would actually be able to put it all together and come together. And incidentally, I've already told the Cowin family this, only a few days after 25 veterans and abandoned cremains, an average of 3 decades, were buried at the Cape Canaveral Cemetery under the Missing in America project. Those cremains were buried last Saturday. And now, joining the ranks in another tough choice the family had, where do we put these cremains? And they chose in-ground burial again, and today they all witnessed those cremains going back in on beautiful urns paid for by Funeral Solutions of Merritt Island. So and they put a couple of neat coins in there. I'll leave it to them to tell you about that later. But the bottom line is that ceremony that ended today took a long time to go. But we never gave up. We never gave up. And but for Ray Norman, Bill Kowalski, Ian Schaff, and several other key people, Chip, where's Chip? Chip, our chaplain that you heard today, Chip, and the DAV connected to the VA, connected all the dots, got the approval of Cape Canaveral Cemetery, organized the ceremony you witnessed today, and as a gift to the family, the Tuskegee Airman, MOAC, and the Veterans Memorial Center are very happy to have a very fun-filled evening. This is not about death. That happened a decade ago. This is about life and legacy, a celebration of life and legacy. Toby Hubbard will now talk to you, read that poem for John, and talk to you about the Tuskegee Airmen. And you heard him today. Great invitation.
But as they started to lose forces, they were asked, well, can we bring some of the guys who are over there who's in training to come and fly for you? They thought, yeah, we need some folk to fly. So one night, the Tuskegee Airmen finally get a chance to fly. They said, all right, finally. So they jump in their little sleep planes and fly out ahead of the bombers. And in formation of such, they're typically flying about 2 miles out front of the bombers, which means the bombers could see them strafing and taking care of matter, but they don't know who's in the cockpit. It's too far away to know in the cockpit. Where a phenomenon took place that first night that had not happened before. Guess what that was? All the bombers came back. All the bombers came back. Now, the bomber commander said, guys, I don't know who was flying strafing missions for us. I don't know who was flying pursuit, but next time I go out, I want the same team of folk to fly with me. That's all he needed to know. The word got around. And other bomber squadron commanders said, hey, I want the same pursuit folk to fly when I go out. So that was good, and that the Tuskegee Airmen started to get a lot of experience. They became very prolific, a lot of experience. What happens when you do something over and over? You get pretty good at it. But I will tell you this, America stands on the shoulders of Tuskegee Airmen, because it was in 1941 through 46 that the crazy stuff was taking place. The airmen were doing things, had nothing to do with what rights were on the paper. It was doing the right thing for the right reason, for the right time.
Toby, what a lot of things we learned. President Toby, we thank you so much for coming today. The story of the Tuskegee Airmen will always be told here, and this will always be a home for the Tuskegee Airmen and those of us who support the program. So, but I like the 2 daughters, Leslie, Shelley, please come forward. This is a lithograph, a fine lithograph that the Tuskegee Airmen provided to us. It is signed by all in the Veterans Memorial Center, and at the bottom, the Tuskegee Airmen. This is a gift for each of the 2 daughters that will forever be in their family, as a memory of today and as a memory of what we stand for as a community in support of the Tuskegee Airmen. I want to introduce these to you especially. All this family is great people, and you'll get to know them, I hope, tonight. But these 2 are brave people. Sort of had their great-grandfather's genes, I think, in there. Today, at the Cape Canaveral National Cemetery, in honor of his great-grandfather, and in coordination with the United States Air Force Honor Guard, this young man, 18 years old, played taps for his great-grandfather. This young lady, in about 25 or 30 minutes, when we've all had a chance to eat, will sing a special song for us in honor of her great-great-grandfather. Please stand and very much. Just stay where you are for just 1 second. Bow your heads. Let's have a blessing for this wonderful day and the meal.
Please uncover. Through our Lord and Savior, may our meal be good. May we always remember what we have just learned today about the Tuskegee Airmen. And as I had said at the beginning of the ceremony, before Martin Luther King, before the 1950s and the 1960s, there was a grand gentleman who saved this country. And they were known as the Tuskegee Airmen. And through our Lord and Savior, I say, amen. Let's eat. Amen. Okay, come on now.
Here in the center tables, there's silverware on the table for you already. You got fancy silverware.
Yeah, there's silverware right on the table.
We have a program here in coordination with the Library of Congress and the Red Cross called the Veterans History Project. We invite every Tuskegee Airman, associate and otherwise, to please contact us, get a videotape of your story, your legacy. We will make copies for you, for your families. We'll send it to the Library of Congress, all at no charge, because we want the world to know and have that documented. Veterans History Project, Brevard Veterans Memorial Center. We invite all veterans to think about that, because in fact the stories are often not talked about to families, and today we learned that some of the family did not know a lot of details about Flight Officer Cowin's tremendous story. So we'll make sure that doesn't happen again. Veterans History Project, through Toby, through Nate, you can contact me and we'll get it all set up. We can come to your house. Robert, have you done this one yet? Almost. He's almost ready. Veterans History Project for your family and for the country. Thank you.
Hey, how are you guys? Be in the picture.
Do a couple of those. This kid is going to have puppies and he's ready. Very good. Go right ahead. Go ahead.
Teamwork. Done. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. You guys. Thank you, Dan.
For the, remember what I told you about last summer? We said we're closed and then Bill and ready to go out and confirm. From that point on, we engaged the Tuskegee Airmen and Mr. Nathan Thomas of Tuskegee Airman Inc. And he has been the glue, together with the Veterans Center and the Canal National Cemetery, and has made all this happen on behalf of all Tuskegee Airmen.
I traveled with a Tuskegee Airman named Lieutenant Colonel Hiram Mann, and he thought that was great because I was a little bird colonel and he was a lieutenant colonel. He would always brag that, look at my lieutenant there, that's how important I am. But the key to that is he talked about Edwin Cowin quite a bit, and he wrote a piece that he gave to me before he passed away, and here again, not knowing the value of the piece. That's why I said things fall into place that you don't know about. And then I began to, when the subject came up, I said, I know I got a piece that he wrote about him. And so I found it, and I was amazed because some of the things he told me were funny things, you know, that they had done when they was younger. But the bottom line was, I always looked for the humor from the Tuskegee Airmen. And Colonel Mann would provide plenty of that, because he would say, if you didn't like it, he said, homie, don't play that.
Yeah.
And the other thing, he showed some of the funny jokes, but being around the Tuskegee Airmen, and especially Colonel Mann, where we traveled to 7 different countries, it's amazing because we're a team of 5,000 teams in Germany. And the amazing piece with that is that he would always talk about the legacy. Not just about him, but all Tuskegee Airmen. He wanted to be remembered. And if you've been into the museum, you see the pieces we put there regarding Colonel Mann. But at the end of the story, he basically said, please, Nate, and his wife provided this woman. She passed away 2 years before he did. She said, you take care of Hiram. We did that. We traveled to 7 different countries. And it's amazing. The kids there knew more about the Tuskegee Airmen than the kids in America. And they were sometimes lying up in their military uniform, especially in Puerto Rico, which was a great thrill for him. These little kids standing there with their uniforms on saluting him, and he really thought that was amazing. But there was also some funny times too when we went to Germany. You know, they pushed the 2 bags together. If you ever been to Germany, well, he was tired and he fell, and he fell in between the 2 beds. Well, the cover came over and covered him up. And he kept saying, help me, Nate, help me. And it's like, well, where are you? You know where I am. You set a trap for me. Get me out of here. And so we finally got him out. And that evening, it was cold in Germany. And it was more amazing because he put on his suit and he looked like Santa Claus. And I think I've never laughed that hard in my life. I said, I've never seen Tuskegee Airman who was Santa Claus. But there were some stories when I seen him talk about that, and we went to the conventions, about all the unique things that is not there but under the surface. And some of the jokes and humor were just, I can't tell you here because there were jokes that Tuskegee Airman told. But it was amazing because he felt like there had to be a legacy left. The inscription, what he gave me was his epistles. He wrote a paper, and it's kind of a binder. I was amazed by that because he called his epistles, so why did you call it epistles? And he would say, somebody got to remember us. We did a valuable job. And I said, okay. And then I said, well, Kitty told me that I better take care of you. And I said, I'm going to do that. So the interesting story is, behind every great man is what? A great, great woman. And I want to applaud that because Kitty pushed him to heights that he probably never would have been before. So I think all the women, they always talk about the women. Yeah, she made me do this and she made me do that. But I felt good afterwards, you know. And it was kind of interesting, some of those side stories. At the very end of his epistle, the one thing he said that I thought that stood out, he simply said to me, is that I want to be remembered. And we talked with the German pilots, 4 of them in Germany, that he had shot, that they claimed he had shot them down. And the funny thing about that, once we left the conference, he simply said, I don't know what that guy's talking about. I ain't never shot him down. And I kept asking the German guys, I said, why do you guys keep flying if you're getting shot down? One of them shot down 4 times. And I said, that doesn't make sense to me. He said, well, it was him or Hitler. So I've chosen to fly. The important things is we, you know, he talked about Edwin Cowin as being raised in Ohio with him. He talked about all the unique things they did. And he wrote the piece that simply said, I don't know why he's in an unmarked grave. He never could get over that. He never understood that why he was in an unmarked grave. And he died without understanding. But I'm sure tonight he knows where he is now. And so I say to you, thank you all for being here. The stories are indelible about the Tuskegee Airmen. I'll always remember those. I talked to Alexander Jefferson, who was a prisoner and taken by the Germans, was shot down. And he came back and he had 4 German watches on it. And I asked a question. They said, well, how did you get the watches? And he just laughed and said, you figure it out. So it's those kind of stories that inspire me. It inspired me to go from being an E7 to a full bird colonel. You know, because at that time, I knew what they had gone through, and they never let me forget that. They were always passionate about that. This driven husband, I didn't know him, but I know her, and I know how passionate she is about being at the conferences, how she takes care of things, and how she wants her husband to be remembered. And so I say to you, honor these guys for what they did for this country. And it's amazing, everyone that I talked to never really talked about, you know, they were racial profile or anything. They were more concerned about this nation and making it a better place to be than they were about what had happened to them. And so I say thank you, Tuskegee Airmen, associates, and all the folks that are here. Well, they left a legacy that everyone should be proud of. You know, not just because they were black, but because they were fighters. Their song is fight, 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 fight. We are the 99. And it was amazing because they believed in doing that, and this country is better for it. Thank you so much.
Before we have a very special song, I wanted to call attention to something that happened today because of this ceremony. The Patriot Guard Riders, raise your hands. They came today in strength, in numbers, you walked through their flag line. The Buffalo Soldiers came in strength and numbers. The Rolling Thunder came in strength and numbers. And the Easy Riders came in strength and numbers. Hundreds of motorcycles today, and guess what? Where's my ride captain, Patriot Guard Riders, raise your hand. They rode the captain that buried Colonel Man, and they came again today to honor Colonel Flight Officer Cowin. Thank you for that. And I will share with this audience, the Brevard Veterans are very special to me. And one of them knows they helped when our son was killed in combat in Afghanistan in 2010. They were there, both at Arlington and at our home celebration of life, because you can't change death, but you can celebrate life. And the Patriot Guard Riders are always a part of my soul, but I don't know how to ride a motorcycle. So the rest is back in the history. Okay, at this time, before we bring back some of the Tuskegee Airmen and others, we hope that we'll share some stories. Are you ready, Colby? All right. So Colby's going to sing a song that I understand she's been practicing. The people on the airplane liked it. So let's sing in honor of her great-grandfather, Flight Officer Edwin Cowin. Turn it over to Colby, and with all our best, Colby Arnold.
Oh Lord, my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art, how great thou art.
With sincere appreciation for our team that we've created, coast to coast, California, Florida, we welcome the entire family and ask on their behalf to begin talking today, Mr. Phil Arnold, United States Air Force veteran in the Air Force Security Services. Phil, welcome.
Well, I wouldn't live to have one more shot at Jack Daniels and a cigar with my father-in-law. What he did was give people access to the wings they did not know they had to be able to soar through life. I was talking to my grandson Michael when he came home from school. I said, "What you learned in school?" He said, "I learned 3 things." I said, "What's the first one?" He said, "Family is everything." And that was Eddie Cowin. Family was everything. Edwin Cowin. Please stand up. Please stand up.
I'm videotaping.
You want videotaping, that's his son Caleb. That's his beautiful wife. And yes, please stand up. Please stand up. I'm so grateful that I tease her all the time about having lots of judgment and saying yes to marry him and into our family. I've got, you've met my grandson Michael, and you've met my granddaughter, I think, Rochelle. Rochelle, stand up. Soccer story? Okay. Rochelle is gifted and talented in her own right, and she's covering her face up now as if you don't know who she is. In her junior year, she's a gifted athlete, but she has many gifts. In her junior year, her club team that she played on in California, Northern California, was the #1 club team in Northern California. It was also ranked as the #1 club team in all of California. Additionally, it was ranked as the #1 team in the nation. And when the final rankings came out, they were ranked as the #1 team global. In her senior year, she went down with a high ankle sprain and only played 12 games, 5 of which were league games, but the coaches in the league recognized her gifts and selected her as the most valuable defensive player in the league, having only played half a season. So I don't know who does that. And then over the style of her great-grandfather, she said, "I don't play with that." But I want to thank you, and if you have a question, raise your hand and say, "Hey Phil, can you answer this question for me?" And I'll do my best. Anybody have a question? And my good friend Pete Kemp, who worked with me for 5 years at Oracle, drove down from Ponte Vedra today. Thank you for that. I thank the Tuskegee Airmen for who they are, what they've done, and I am so grateful that you're not allowing this to just be another page in a history book that you had no part in writing, but now taking an active part to write history the way it's supposed to be. They say we're all immigrants. I'm not. I'm slave labor import. Thank you. Imports have greater value, like a Toyota that'll run forever. I mean, Honda or Toyota. But I thank you. That's all I have, sir. Thank you for the opportunity.
The American hero himself was that lieutenant pilot who was told to report and train these other pilots. Now let's pick up the story.
25s and P-40s and all those different airplanes, and just loved it. And that was what I wanted to do when I did, and when I was really, really anxious to get to the training of the Tuskegee Airmen. And I felt like, and these guys, I tell you, they had every bit of guts to get into this program, and they all wanted to be something, and they wanted to be pilots, and I wanted to train them, and I enjoyed doing that feature. And then I was sent overseas, and it was P-51 on Okinawa, so that made things much better. Anyway, that's my feelings and the one thing that I love to do, and that's flying. And I tell you, the Tuskegee Airmen had me for the rest of my life. They were a wonderful, wonderful bunch of guys, and they fought every bit of it. Thank you very much. Hey, Mr. Lincoln.
John Hughes, he served in the Air Force for over 25 years, 3 years training Tuskegee Airmen, also a Tuskegee Airman, and an American hero. Thank you very much.
So, if you would, Leslie, if you would, and Shannon, would you come up and grab a copy of this? I think it's important that you get a copy of the actual charter that your father used when he
Shelley
was...
and Leslie.
I'm sorry, what did I say?
That's right, Shelley and
Oh,
Leslie are
yeah,
coming.
Shelley and Leslie. Again, him and 13 other individuals, and their names on the sheet of paper. That's a historic document, comes out of archives. I just thought I would give you guys a copy of this. So if you would give them a copy of that, each of them get their own copy. And I would like to also give something to okay, the two great-grands, Michael and Rochelle, if you would come up, please. Now, I know that many of the, yes, it's okay, I won't bite. I'm not going to ask you to make a speech. Michael, they're going to get some.
But Caleb, somewhere, I don't know. You see him or something? No, you see him blocked, so he doesn't see him. He might be outside.
Actually, what I wanted to do was to give them a copy of the poem that I read. I would like for them to have a copy of it. I'm hoping that they will have an opportunity to talk to others of their peers, and maybe this can be a talking point, so I want them to have a copy of that, so make sure they get a copy of those, if you will. Well, those that they can get, that you get. Okay, give her one for her brother, too. And I would like Colby and Caleb to come up. Some of you may recognize her. What is he? Battle tonight, you picked up a phone. He gave it to us. I've given my contact information to Mark, so if you tell a story on screen and need some information, feel free to.
A lot of cameras in here.
I'll actually, I found that that's bad. I have a chance to grab the mug. So I was busy since our last time.
Yeah, right
Trying to
there.
grab some things. I thought, what can I give to the
Friends,
family members
who
I
you
had
are.
a chance to meet that with? I'm gonna make a difference that I think will be a keepsake, and these are what I came up with, and I hope made a difference because Dad was a pioneer, and as I talked to the higher mans of the world, he continued to do what he could do. He was a statesman. He was a Renaissance man. And again, him and 13 individuals got together and in 1985 formed the General Daniel Chapter James Jr. chapter, often referred to as the Orlando chapter. And I've been the president on and off for a couple of years, and I will continue to make sure that we tell the story. And the next time I'm telling the story, I will incorporate some things that I heard from you today about Flight Officer Cowin. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming.
Honors some very special treasures. They now want to present those same treasures to the Tuskegee Airmen.
Today, or late last night from Atlanta to be here, and she also attended when her father was awarded the Medal of Honor in Tuskegee, and made sure that he was able to get there and be a part of that.
Thank you very much.
Sorry for interrupting, but I just wanted to say
Yes, I do
that.
have the names and we'll annotate that. Before I give it back to Don, because we'll never get the mic back. I think we all owe Don Weaver.
I don't have a word to say.
Certainly make that work, huh, son?
Can I try?
Sure.
Caleb, do you have lice?
Oh, Colby.
The funny part is when you put this on your ears, electrical charge goes back and forth,
Get out of the
and
way.
it causes your eyelashes to grow.
That's perfect. Can you put it on mine? Really?
Yeah, they'll grow probably an inch in about an hour.
Ooh, let's see what happens.
So you won't be able to see because they'll be in your way. You want to try them?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Ready?
Buttons do.
Hold on to that. We're gonna get them on here.
You gotta hold it on your head.
Get them over there, right up on top.
All right,
I don't want to put it in your
I'll
eyes.
crank it. Kobe,
Okay,
I'll
ready?
crank
Crank it hard. Let's go. Listen, your hair's standing up. Look at his hair standing up. Look at here. Look at it sticking out.